Hello everyone, I am Dr. Anil Kolpe, Assistant Professor of Economics, Arihant College of Arts, Commerce and Science, Bhavdan Budruk, Pune. Today, we are going to discuss about the next part of private sector banks, that is called the secondary functions of private sector banks. Introduction. The private sector banks help in introducing a high degree of professional management and marketing concept into banking. The private sector banks play a vital role in the Indian economy. They directly motivate the public sector banks by offering a healthy competition to them. The secondary function of the banks consists of the agency functions and general utility functions. Some important following are the under secondary function of the private sector banks. A. First, the agency functions. In this under agency functions, the first important function, secondary function of the private sector bank is that the collection of checks, dividends, and interest. As an agent, the bank collects checks, drafts, promissory notes, interest, dividends, etc. on behalf of its customers and credit the amounts to their accounts. Customers may furnish their bank details to corporate where investment is made in shares, debentures, etc. And as and when the dividend interest is due, the companies directly send the warrants oblique checks to the bank for credit to the customer account. The next, the payments of rent, insurance, premiums. The bank makes the payments such as the rent, insurance, premiums, subscriptions, outstanding instructions until further notice. Until the order is revoked, the bank will continue to make such a payments regularly by the debiting the customer's account. The next third, dealing in foreign exchange. As an agent, the commercial bank purchase and sell foreign exchange as well for customers as per the Reserve Bank of India exchange control regulations. Then fourth, purchase and sale of securities. Commercial banks undertake the purchase and sale of the different securities such as shares, debentures, bonds, etc. on behalf of their customers. They run a separate portfolio management scheme for their big customers. Then another function of the private sector banks act as trustee, executor, attorney. The attorney and the act as the trustee, executor, and attorney is that the banks act as the executors of the will, trustees, and attorneys. It is safe to appoint a bank as a trustee than to appoint an individual. Acting as a attorneys of their customers, they receive payments and sign transfer deeds of the properties of their customers. Then next function is that the act as correspondent. The commercial banks act as a correspondent of their the customers. Small banks even get travel tickets, book vehicles, receive letters, etc. on behalf of the customers. Then next function is that the preparations of income tax returns. They prepare the income tax returns and they provide advice, advices on tax matters of their customers. For this purpose, they employ tax experts and make their services available to their customers. And next, the general utility functions or general utility services. The first function is that under the general utility services, safety locker facility. Safekeeping of the important documents, valuable like jewels, are one of the oldest services provided by the commercial banks. Lockers are small receptacles which are fitted in the steel ranks and kept inside strong room known as the holds. These lockers are available on half yearly or annually rental basis. The bank merely provides lockers and the key, but the valuable are the always under the control of its users. Any customer cannot have access to all. Only customers to safety lockers after the entering into a register his name, account number and time can enter into the vault. Because the vault is holding the important valuable of the customers in lockers, it is also known as a strong room. Then second function is that the payment mechanism or money transfer. Transfer of funds is one of the important functions performed by the commercial banks. Checks and credit cards are two important payment mechanisms through the banks. Despite an increase in financial transactions, banks are managing the transfer of funds processes very efficiently. Checks are also cleared through the bank system. Correspondent banking is another method of the transferring funds over long distance, usually from one country to another. Then the banks these days employ the computers to speed up money transfer and to reduce cost of the transferring funds. An electronic transfer of the funds is also known as a check checkless banking, where funds are the transferred through the computer and the sophisticated electronic system by using code word. They offer mail transfer, telegraphic transfer facility also. Then third, traveler's check. The traveler's check are used by the domestic travelers as well as by the international travelers. However, the use of traveler's check is more common by the international travelers because of their safety and convenience. This can be also termed as a modified form of the traveler's letter of credit. A bank issuing the traveler's check usually have the banking arrangement with many of the foreign banks abroad known as a correspondent banks. The purchasers of the traveler's checks can uh, encash the checks from the all overhead banks with whom the issuing banks has such a arrangement. The next, the circular notes or circular letter of credit. Under circular letters of credit, the customer traveler negotiates the drafts with any of the various branches to which they are addressed. Thus, the traveler can obtain funds from the many of the branches of banks instead only from a particular branch. The next, acting as a referees. So next function is that uh, the acting as a referees. The banks act as the referees and supply information about the business transaction and financial standing of their customers on requests made by third parties. This is done on the acceptance of the customers and help to increase the business activity in general. The next provides trade information. The commercial banks collect information on the business and the financial conditions, etc., and make it available to their customers to help plan their strategy. The trade information service is very useful for those customers going for the cross border business, and it will help the traders to know the exact business conditions, payment rules, and the buyer's financial status in the other countries. The next function is that the provide ATM facilities. The banks today have ATM facilities. Under this system, the customers can withdraw their money easily and quickly and 24 hours a day. This is also known as a anytime money. Customers under this system can withdraw funds, that is the currency notes, with the help of the certain magnetic card issued by the bank, and similarly deposit cash check for credit to account. The next function is that the provides credit cards. Banks have introduced credit card system, and credit cards enable the customer to purchase goods and services from the certain specified retail and service establishment up to the limit without making immediate payment. In other words, the purchase can be made on the credit basis on the strength of the credit card. The establishment like hotels, shops, airline companies, railways, etc. Then next, accepting bills. On behalf of their customers, the banks accept bills drawn by third party on its customers. This resembles the letter of the credit. While banks accept bills, they provide a better security for payment for the seller of goods or drawer of bills. The next function is that the merchant banking. The commercial banks provide valuable services through their merchant banking divisions or through the subsidiaries to the traders. And this is the function of under underwriting of the securities. They underwrite a portion of the public issue of shares, debentures, and bonds of the joint stock companies. Currently, this type of services can be provided only by the separate subsidiaries known as a merchant bankers as per SEBI regulations. Okay, thank you. Thanks for watching my video.